mentioned in many passages of the Quran and Hadith that this life is a test. And really, these tests are a blessing in disguise. It's because through these tests, we can identify and recognize the deficiencies among us. So for example, in order for me to know whether I have an issue with anger, I need to put in a position to be angry. In order for me to know whether I have an issue of being selfish, I need to be put in a position where I can, be compassionate or depart with my work, so on and so forth. So for this week, we have Ustad Abdullah, who'll be talking about 7 common situations that we'll find ourselves in and what the prophetic reaction
بين الصلب والترائب إنه على رجعه لقادر يوم تبلى السرائر فما له من قوة ولا ناصر والسماء ذات الرجع والأرض ذات الصدع إنه لقول فصل وما هو بالهزل إنهم يكيدون كيدا وأكيد كيدا فمهل الكافرين أمهلهم رويدا. صدق الله.
في حب في مجد واشتياق لا يحد يا رسول الله قلبي لم يزل باسمك يشدو يا رسول الله قلبي لم يزال باسمك يشدو حبك الساكن فيا لم يزل يهمي علي حبك الساكن فيا لم يزال يهمي علي بهجة في الروح فاضت وسلاما أبديا بهجة في الروح فاضت وسلاما أبديا صلي يا ربي عليك واسقنا من راحتك صلي يا ربي عليك واسقنا من راحتك نبت الروح وتنادى شوقا إليك ذات الروح وبكت شوقا إليك فيها حب فيها وجد واشتياق لا يحد فيها حب فيها وجد واشتياق لا يحد يا رسول الله قلبي لم يزل باسمك يا رسول الله قلبي لم يزل باسمك لم يزل يهمي علي ساكن فيا لم يزال يهمي علي سلام
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين صدق الله العظيم اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما اللهم يا رب بجاه سيدنا محمد بن عبد الله صلى الله عليه وسلم اجمع بيننا وبين سيدنا محمد بن عبد الله في الدنيا قبل الآخرة في الدنيا قبل الآخرة في الدنيا والآخرة بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته everyone. Apologies for the late start. It took an extra 20 minutes to get here because I think there is problems on the A13. So apologies for the late start. I think other people are running late as well. So we'll make a start now since we're already well overdue. So Imam Sheikh Muhammad, Sheikh Harun, they're unavailable at the moment. They're away on a Umrah expedition. We will have later on today, inshallah, Sheikh Ustad Abdurrahim, who will attend. He's got some appointments with some of you. Inshallah, we will arrange that. And unfortunately, you're going to have to listen to me for the next 20, 30 minutes. So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So, Brother Adnan mentioned that today we're going to talk about 7 or 8 common issues that we face and how we should react to them. The reality of this life is that it's going to be hard. There's going to be disappointments. People are going to disappoint you. Situations are going to disappoint you. You're going to feel betrayed. You're going to feel deceived. People are going to defraud you. And let's face it, we also do that to other people as well. So it's not just one way. There's many people who are also upset with us and our conduct. But today, we will focus on our reactions to external stimuli. So those who don't actually reflect and realize that this life is meant to be hard, it's meant to have hardships, it's meant to have disappointment, people will disappoint you. If we don't have this expectation, then sometimes it's too late when you realize that, and then you will live your life of regret. Because what happens is that a person is preoccupied in trying to attain perfection in this because they have the expectation of perfection and um, conduct from others. In reality, good conduct and perfection from others is not an expectation. Rather, we expect the opposite. And when you expect the opposite, when good happens, we're thankful. When it doesn't happen, then it's an opportunity to react. We will react. There's only one or two ways of reacting: a positive way of reacting and a negative way of reacting. Right? So many of us will go through life. We will be tricked. We'll be deceived. Many people will come and go. Friends will come and go. Relatives will come and go. People will come together, marriages up, husbands, wives, brothers, sisters. And in the end, you realize that no one can really be trusted. What do I mean by that? No one can really be trusted because underpinning all these relationships is a transaction. And when there's a transaction, there's an expectation of something you received from the opposite party, right? And when they point to you in falling short of of their part of the bargain or their part of the relationship, then you feel you're left feeling a level of distrust and disappointment. The wise ones, they realize that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who ultimately, who ultimately has not let anyone down. Never before, not now, and never in the future. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has everyone's best interests. So the question is, what relationship then should we prioritize above all? The one who will never betray us, the one who never disappoints us, the one who or the ones, there's always a risk, there's always an element of an expectation, there's a transactional element where, okay, I'm going to do this for my wife, or I'm going to do this for my husband. In return, I expect my rights to be fulfilled. I expect sometimes even beyond my rights to be fulfilled. Who is the one whose relationship is most valuable? I'm not saying it's not a matter of absolutes here. So don't be so uh, you know pedantic about it. I'm talking about a hierarchy of relationships. The one who expects nothing from us but gives us is the one whose relationship we should prioritize the most. And second to that are those who represent him. And that starts with Allah's blessed messengers. Above all, our beloved messenger, Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And in our time and in our age, the ones who reflect and represent him most. So the awliya, the salihin. And there's a condition here. Many of us, we go to so-called pious people, but there's an element of transaction where I I have to give the sheikh respect, or the sheikh or this and that, or pir sab, whoever expects loyalty or a membership fee or something like that. But really, the people of Allah expect nothing in return. Those are the ones who we should relationships we should be valuing, whose company we should be valuing. Rather, we are foolish where we spend our energy in areas where perfection was never guaranteed and is not guaranteed and it should not be expected. So there will always be an element of disappointment. So even if somebody has this mentality that I will prioritize my relation with Allah first and foremost, I will give the rights of the people, I will do good to people. So when people disappoint them, there may be a temporal loss, they may, suffer, even suffer physically sometimes. They may suffer physically. Yes, you need to take action, justice needs to be served. That's not, we're not discounting that. But ultimately, you've lost something in this life. And really, what you have valued most is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that relationship is everlasting and beyond this life. And even though we are mentioned in the Quran and in the prophetic tradition, that on the day of judgment we value relationships like our mother, our father, our brother, our sisters, our friends. Those very people on the day of judgment, they will prefer themselves over us. So what to say about that? So the people who value Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are never really in loss. We take example of like Sayyidina Umar, for example. The very well he financed, he got built, was the very well the people at the end, towards the end of his life, where there was a rebellion towards him, prevented him from drinking. And did they forget that he was the one who provided that for them? And it is reported that the night or the day before Sayyidina Umar passed away, he mentioned to one of his companions that the Prophet ﷺ came to him in a dream, and the Prophet ﷺ, I think, maybe I shouldn't say I think, but the Prophet ﷺ gave them two options. Either you can, something can be done right now with your situation, or you can break your fast with me tomorrow. Sayyidina Umar understood what was meant by that, and he said he chose the company of Allah, of the Prophet ﷺ. In fact, he would give up his khilafah and power and everything 10, 20, 1,000-fold just to be the company of the Prophet ﷺ. So he valued the relationship with Allah and the Prophet ﷺ above people. You can use that analogy. Similarly, we take the example of Sayyidina Imam Hussein, rahmatullah alayhi, where he was betrayed by the people of Kufa. You can say, oh, he was tricked, he was deceived, he was defrauded by them. But he wasn't doing it for them. He was doing it for the truth, and ultimately that truth was to uphold Allah's deen and Allah's way and the way of his grandfather, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he didn't lose. He may have lost his life. He may have sacrificed multiple members of his family and his companions, but he wasn't in loss. So we take example from these blessed personalities, and we should really reflect as to where our loyalty and trust should be placed first and foremost. Because as we mentioned, that people can't defraud you. We put all our efforts into relationships and so on and so forth, and we're left disappointed. So how should we react when people disappoint us? Because there's one way of reacting, which is reacting negatively. And negative reaction only gives birth to more negativity, only harms you. We've mentioned many times that the one who, if you hold a grudge against somebody, ultimately who suffers? You. We suffer because we are burdened with the memory, we are burdened with the pain of that memory, we are burdened with thoughts of revenge, and our mental energy, all sorts are consumed over that issue. Maybe the person that we hold a grudge, he's happy-go-lucky and go carrying on with his life. No issue there. but we're the one burdened with that pain. So the reaction is very important because ultimately, we can't ultimately control what other people do to us, but what we can control is what is within us capacity, and our reaction to external events or external stimuli or behaviors and attitudes of people, we can control that. And in fact, it is the prophetic way and the way of his representatives that every situation, whether it's good or bad happening to you, gives an opportunity for personal spiritual growth and reflection and lesson. There's a lesson in every situation, good or bad. So really what it boils down to is what is the Muhammadan reaction and what is the satanic reaction. Essentially, that's what it boils down to. And those are the two choices for every decision that we make. How would the Prophet and his representatives and companions react? And what would be the negative, evil, satanic, corruptive, and destructive reaction be? So there's a couple of common situations where we're regular people, everyday occurrences that happen that that that, that we should really think about how we react. One is that a situation that may annoy you, which ultimately upsets you. This could be at home, at work, wherever, with your spouse, family, colleagues. One should be thinking about, what is this situation teaching you? What do you think? In a situation that's annoying you, what is the core teaching here? What should you be thinking about?
Qualities that break down within you.
Okay, yeah. Where's Adnan? Adnan wrote these notes. Where is he? You should know. When you're annoyed about something, the key reaction is a reaction based is a reaction based on patience. It's teaching you patience. So the situation, if it had not occurred, then patience would have been tested. Right? So in effect, you're being grateful that such a situation or something like someone annoying you, upsetting you, is an opportunity now for you to exercise patience. And patience is something some people are born with God-gifted patience. Other people, like myself, it takes a bit of time to work on it. So there are opportunities to work on. So essentially, it's as simple as that. You should see it as an opportunity where it's an opportunity, to train one's level of patience. And you can see from situation to situation, okay, I've reacted that way last time I got annoyed by this incident or this person or so or this is something totally different. I reacted that way. This time round, I'm going to think about how, I'm going to step back a little bit and deal with it patiently. And the opposite to that would be a bad reaction. If you're impatient, what does impatient render usually? Bad words. Sometimes it's physical. Sometimes it's using, rash decision making, harmful decision making. Only. In fact, the Prophet ﷺ, discouraged us from hasty decision making. Right? So when you lack patience, you make the wrong decisions. So the first thing that comes to mind, that when somebody or something or someone is annoying us, is I need to exercise patience. I need to take a step back. I need to relax and think about things properly and make sure my response is measured and thoroughly thought through. So essentially what Allah is doing is teaching us how to endure difficult situation without immediate action, immediate complaints, thinking things through. The second thing that affects us in quite a negative way is when we are abandoned by people, when people leave us. You know, friends leave, relatives leave, spouses split up, business partners leave. Now, we see this a lot when, unfortunately, in the one-to-one sessions, is usually about some sort of rift between two people or two parties. And it comes down to this: one person feels abandoned or has been abandoned or been left, and um, instead of reacting, and that's caused negative reactions, spiraling out of control. A common one is spouse split up, and there is a fight over custody of the children. Accusations are flown around. Those are negative ways of react. Those are extreme examples. So one common way that, common ways that people react to abandonment is revenge, is plotting revenge, is spreading rumors, is casting doubts about someone's character, so on and so forth. Also thinking about harming the person physically as well, not just mentally. Unfortunately, these things happen, and we are very much capable of it. One doesn't know what they're capable of until they're put in that situation. That's the key thing. And similarly, one doesn't know if I think I have patience, I don't really know if I'm patient until I'm given a test to test that patience. So it works both ways. We don't really know the capacity of evil, of destruction that we possess, nor do we really know the extent of goodness in us until we are tested with scenarios. So how should we react to this really? So the Mashaykh say that anyone who abandons us, what the teaching is, what you're really being taught is how to stand up for yourself, how to be independent, and how you could progress on your own. But it's not just you, it's independence and reliance. Reliance on who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because ultimately, we say this all the time, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. But rarely, seldom do we actually realize the impact and meaning of these words. So it's independence, showing that yes, that person has left me, has abandoned me. I'm going to have to work on my own 2 feet now. I'm going to have to figure things out for myself, which is a good thing. It's a good thing. It gives you resilience. It gives you, an opportunity to many a time where you don't really know how strong or capable you are until you are tested in the scenario. So one's mindset should shift. Okay, this has happened. How can I now improve my situation on my own 2 feet? So even if somebody abandons me, if it happens again, I know what to do to help myself. And ultimately, whose reliance are we putting? Who are we putting our reliance on? Is in Allah subhanahu wa taala. Like if you take the example of a child learning to ride a bike, and in the initial stages, you have the support wheels, and then your dad or your granddad or your mum holds you from behind and then lets you ride a little bit, and then eventually, once they're a bit comfortable, they let you go. Now, if the if the child got angry and said, "Oh, why did you let me go? Why did you abandon me? You should have held me back." That's not the point, was it? So the parent had to let them go in order for the child to now, deal with it in themselves, to learn independence, to learn resilience. And we mentioned this example before when, even on the day of judgment, our loved ones will abandon. We will probably will abandon others. We'll think about nafsi, ya nafsi, ya nafsi. In fact, it will not in a disparaging way. Everybody will be thinking about themselves apart from a one. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's the only one who will say ummati, ummati. So again, the reaction to when you feel abandoned or you are abandoned is it's an opportunity to realize that it's an opportunity to become independent or improving our scope of independence, and an opportunity to increase in our reliance in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thirdly, sorry. is that people who anger you. Osman, go get her phone. People who anger you, either through something they say or do. Anger in and of itself isn't something that's bad, by the way. We've mentioned this, the Ustads have mentioned this many times. Anger in and of itself isn't bad. If you didn't have anger, then justice, when a wrong is done, particularly to other people, then justice wouldn't be served. But anger has to be channeled in a way that's productive, not destructive. Right? So Prophet ﷺ many a times would be angry. He would show anger. It would be seen on his face. But that anger wasn't to display some sort of arrogance or some sort of, even for himself, from his own right to be violated. It was that a right or a violation of somebody else, or injustice had been served, or a disappointment that he had in his some of his Sahaba or something like that, that may have happened. But it's to make a point and to restore justice and goodness. That was the purpose of his anger, not for self-serving purposes. So a negative reaction to when we are made angry, common is we want to hurt that person. Many time in domestic violence or even like disputes between people, when people get angry, what their fists start flying, right? You wanna hurt them. You want to react in that. Again, it links back to the first one. There's no patience. The lack of patience causes you to react immediately. And that immediate reaction is usually a reaction that you regret, that you don't think that's within yourself. But in that moment, you reacted. So you hurt people either through speech or with words or with actions. Like they say too, like even if somebody's caused you anger by doing something, now you reacting in a similar light or even worse, they say two wrongs don't make a right? You're just adding to the fire. The fire just gets bigger. The destruction just gets bigger. If you take the example of, I don't know, what's happening in the Middle East, it's tit for tat now. Let's see how long it's going to go on for, but it doesn't look like very positive, does it? So similarly, it's obvious. But again, until we are in a situation where it's been tested, we don't really know where we're going to go. So hence why it's good to keep these mindsets, ingrained within us. So the right reaction is to recognize that it is an opportunity for forgiveness and compassion. So what do I mean by that? A person can never really forgive until they've experienced something, and that experience is usually a right being taken away from them, or a wrong being done to them in some sort of way. So when someone angers you, forgiving them essentially is, okay, they've done this wrong, you calming down, they've done it, they've asked forgiveness. Even if they don't ask forgiveness, sometimes it's still good to forgive. There are levels, sometimes it's abuse or things like that. We're not talking about that. But general things where forgiveness can be given, one should give, even if the person doesn't actively seek it. If they actively seek it and you don't forgive, then it's a bit more, we could talk about that. But if forgiveness is sought or not sought, you should forgive them. Forgive them for what they've done. And compassion is when you're wanting goodness for them. That's very difficult. Forgiveness sometimes is the easy part, in fact. If you're asking now for me to forgive and have compassion on you, maybe I could forgive you, but I can still resent you. I can still, I'll let it go, but I wouldn't want goodness for you. Now, compassion is when you now want goodness for your brother or sister in return, although they've harmed you, because this is the prophetic way. When the Prophet ﷺ went to Taif, Allah gave him the opportunity, let me destroy them now. The Prophet ﷺ showed mercy and compassion. Allah gave them the option, but they opted for compassion. So it's wanting something that they more than they deserve. So this now we've spoken about Allah's sifat and connecting with Allah's sifat and the character of Prophet. These are opportunities where now we go above and beyond. But when we go above and beyond our rights, then we become closer to Allah ultimately, subhanahu wa ta'ala. The fourth example is someone taking what is yours. Maybe it's property, maybe it's your right. Ultimately, someone overpowering you. Yeah. What you should be thinking about is this is an opportunity of teaching me how to now take that power back, empowering you how to stand up for your rights. You can stand up for your rights. If your rights are being violated, you can. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, reclaim what is yours, reclaim justice, and sometimes also, acting just on for knowing what's your right helps you recognize what somebody else is right. There's a higher spiritual level is where you forgo your own rights. But when you forgo your own rights, there's not that expectation that you encourage other people to forgo their rights, or you forgo rights on others' behalf. Does that make sense? Because the Prophet ﷺ, he let go of his rights. But when he saw a right of one of his companions or somebody else being violated, he would step in. So it's an opportunity for you now to uphold, to empower yourself, empower others, and uphold justice. So you could think about it a different way, like you may think, oh, Shaitan has overpowered me. Shaitan, I can't stop sinning. So you're thinking Shaitan's overpowered you, but now, how do I now empower myself? How do I take myself into control now and overpower Shaitan? So essentially, when something is taken from you, in any sort of capacity, you can make it abstract. It's an opportunity to now empower yourself, empower others. This is the next one is quite an important one. Are situations where people show enmity and hate towards you. So some people hate you, and you may not know. They may be jealous of what you have or what you look like or whatever, right? They're jealous of you for some reason. Whatever their reason is, that's up to them. It might be sinful. It probably is sinful. If someone hates you for something, usually it's something that's negative. Rarely somebody has done something so bad to somebody else that requires hate, and these are exceptional circumstances. So what it really is teaching is an opportunity to learn unconditional love. The Prophet ﷺ, as we mentioned before, would return evil with goodness, right? What unconditional love means is loving for the sake of Allah. What do I mean by that? What do you think I mean by that?
Don't care like in your brother because your transaction with them, you're cautious that Allah watching.
Okay,
Because of that, you're going to deal with it in a good way.
good. Any other ideas? What do I mean by loving for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What it means is that it's not transactional. It's not dependent on receiving anything in return. Because Allah loves us for us. Right? That's Allah. It's pure love. The purest love is Allah's love. And I love the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Whether we sin, whether we do goodness, Allah is still providing for us. Right? That's unconditional love. Loving for the sake of Allah means that there is no expectation. There's no expectation. There's no expectation, even acknowledgement from that person. Not even a thank you. Nothing. That's love for the sake of Allah. That's what unconditional love means. No conditions attached, no strings attached. So the person who hates you and you now show them love and compassion, you are now given an opportunity of reflecting that quality of Allah, where Allah shows mercy and love to the creation unconditionally. And opposite, this is also more important for people that show enmity towards you. Because if someone loves you and you show love back here, you're actually getting something in return, aren't you? Because you're getting love from them. When you're hated, when you're showing hate and animosity and enmity, but you're giving care and love in return, that's really where unconditional love is demonstrated and where it's really worked upon. Like we take the example at the Battle of Uhud, another example from the Sirah where the Quraysh, their objective was what? To kill the Muslims, but most importantly, to kill the Prophet ﷺ. So they actually hurt him. And the Prophet ﷺ's, from their blessed mouth, they started to bleed. And the Prophet ﷺ, the Sahaba were witnessing the Prophet ﷺ just rubbing the blood on themselves and trying to prevent it from touching the ground. So the Mashayikh say this, some of the reaction of the Sahaba was okay, they wanted to understand why the Prophet ﷺ was doing that. So they asked, Ya Rasulullah, we saw you do this. Is this something that we're supposed to do as well? Because they're thinking, is this a sunnah that we're supposed to do? Or why was the Prophet ﷺ, it was a bit peculiar. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned, no, it's not for you. This is a sunnah for you to follow. This is sometimes, no, there is a line that if a people cross, that's it. It's finished. There's a red line. And that red line in this situation was if my blood, if a Nabi's blood touched the ground, it's finished. It's end game for Quraysh. Allah will destroy them immediately. Because that's what's happened to previous nations. Where if the blood of a Nabi or a Prophet is spilt by a community, that community is destroyed. So to prevent that, look, they're trying to, in that situation, they're still trying to kill him. To prevent that, even in that moment of someone trying to kill him, Prophet ﷺ was showing compassion. This is ultimately what? This unconditional love. There was nothing, they were still harming him. This is what unconditional love is. These are examples from the book. He showed us nobody can display unconditional love better than the Prophet ﷺ. For that creation. Allah's unconditional love is Allah's conditional love. But the best of example is the Prophet ﷺ in the whole time in all creation. So really, responding with love, unconditional love to the people who show enmity and hatred towards us, Allah is teaching us how to love others without condition, even in the face of negativity. It's easy to be positive with those who are being nice to you and being positive with you, right? Responding to hatred with kindness reflects true sincerity of love and also reflects the qualities of Allah and the Prophet ﷺ. And ultimately reflecting those things takes us closer to Allah. And goes back to the first point. Who's winning here? They're the ones, we should be feeling sorry for them. They're digging their, people who shot, they're digging their, hole deeper. We're increasing, right? The last example of situations out of our control are situations out of our control. Sometimes things happen and we just can't do anything about it, right? There's nothing we can do. What do we do in that situation? It could be health. Health is deteriorating. Our time is limited. We've made financial losses. Shaitan has given waswasa. Waswasa isn't in our control, right? Ultimately, anything that we can't control, it is an opportunity of learning how to let go, letting go and accepting the decree of Allah. There's a golden principle in our deen and in on the spiritual path for those who have started the journey of purification, that anything that is not within our control or within our choice, it is never an objective. So what are some examples of things that aren't really in our control? That you can relate it back to the path. So a lot of people get obsessed with dreams and, you know, uh, so on and so forth, things of that nature. They're not in our control. Hence why they're not objectives on the path to Allah. If you have them, good and well. And even if you have them, they're not a reflection or a decree of your state or your rank or anything like that, right? So they're non-objectives. What is an objective in the Sharia is what you and I have within our capacity to exercise. What's within our control, what's within our charge. That's what we're accountable for. So it's an opportunity for us to accept what the situation is and letting go of what we can't control, what can't be changed. Ultimately, this again increases us in patience, in reliance in Allah, and also in trust in Allah's decree. So all of these things in tandem or in conjunction work hand in hand with each other. But they're just 7 sort of common examples of situations where people feel overwhelmed and negative reactions, such as people either harm themselves, harm others, get depressed, go down a spiraling, ultimately a spiraling journey downwards when they blame Allah. If we have um, the mindset that every opportunity, whether it's negative or positive, gives us an opportunity to reflect, to react in a Muhammadan way or a shaitanic way, the Muhammadan way will bring us closer to Allah and His Messenger. The shaitanic way will just derail us even further. That's what it comes down to. This life is all about reactions, stimuli, external stimuli, and reactions. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to, He could have given us an earth each. Well behaved with us, most loving to us. And those are the people who will ultimately disappoint us most. It's a fact of life. If we accept that now, and we have these mindsets where we see there's opportunities of building patience, opportunities of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The third one is the people who anger you or show enmity towards you. It's an opportunity to exercise forgiveness and compassion. And what we said, the important definition of compassion is wanting goodness from them, even if they don't want goodness for you. Right? Fourthly, someone who's taken a right of yours or taken something of yours, it is an opportunity for you to empower yourself. They're all linked, by the way. Independence, empowerment, they're all linked. You standing up for justice for yourself and justice for others. There are also levels of justice as well, because there's nothing wrong with wanting your rights, but at higher levels, obviously, if you forego your rights, as long as there's no abuse or anything like that, then there are benefits to that as well. Because this was the character of the Prophet. He forgoes his rights and he championed the rights of others. Fifthly, the people who hate you is the reaction that we're looking for is an opportunity to exercise unconditional love. And what we mean by unconditional love is where there's no transaction, there's nothing expected in return, even an acknowledgement. Even knowing that you're doing something for them, that's even more powerful. It's when your enemy doesn't know that you've actually done something for them. Look at all the evil people on the world. Do they recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? No, they don't. But still Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides. Allah provides for them even without them acknowledging them. Or even with them, in any way, in any shape or form, knowing that it's from Allah or acknowledging that it's from Allah. They know, they'll deny it. Even if they know, they'll deny it. Sorry, I missed that one. The sixth one was actually when you're fearful of something. It's teaching you that it's an opportunity to now build courage. Because without being shown or without recognizing things that fear you, or being in situations where you're scared or uncertain, or uncertain about what could happen, then you don't really know how much courage you have. So there's opportunities to build courage, and to overcome that fear. You know, people train for this on a day-to-day. People who do, I don't know, military training or MMA or something like that, they go into situations where they simulate that fear, to what? Ultimately to try and overcome that fear. So that we should see those opportunities as training opportunities. Okay, this thing generally scares me, or I feel full of it. This happening, all right, how do I now build courage? Courage comes through relying on Allah, taking the means, right? And lastly, situations that are outside of our control, our reaction, well, we first to recognize that anything that's not in our control, we're not accountable for, right? But it's an opportunity for us to accept for what it is, and also increase reliance on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Jazakumullah khair. Those were the seven things that we wanted to cover today. I hope that was useful. Can we get a chair, please, for Ustad Rahim? If anyone has any questions, we have Ustad Rahim. We'll take questions for like 5-10 minutes before the dhikr. So I invite Ustad Rahim to come to the front, inshallah. Anything related to this topic, please. We don't have Sheikh Muhammad today to give thick answers. We'll carry those on next week. There's on the Slido link has been shared. So if you have any questions on there you want to ask anonymously, you can do. Put your hands up. Someone's asked, there is a controversy on torture punishment that can be used on someone to extract information. It is said that Ibn Taymiyyah permitted it. All right, we'll get Sheikh Muhammad to answer this. In Khaybar, which is Zubair ibn Awam allegedly tortured Kinana ibn Arabi over information, and this was permitted by Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Can you explain this? First of all, if you torture somebody, that's against the law. So, you know, we should think again, try and think about questions and situations that are relevant to us. You know, these are stately matters. You know, these are matters of the state. None of us here are presidents or military commanders. So it's a good question, but it's a bit more of a theoretic question. We'll, if Imam Sahib gets time next week to answer, we'll answer. Okay, some other ones have come through. Okay, how should one respond when they have been practicing patience for an extended period of time and have become very fatigued?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ala Muhammad, wa ala Muhammad, kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Alhamdulillah, really the question that you mentioned about patience. So the other way around, you can say that how much patience Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has with us. And the question can be answered there that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never gives up on us, that how much we do in every single day, that He gives us chance after chance after chance, and He never gives up on us. Rather, it is the other way around, that we give up on ourselves or the people or on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if you say about patience, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is patient on us, and He has given us a limited time but every single day He makes us remember that He's given us another chance. And how that is that every time we sleep and we awaken in the morning, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has given us another life. You see the sun, the moon, the skies, the days, the night, the hours, the minutes. These are all signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showing us patience of His patience. So don't you think the other way around is that why are we not showing patience to others? Or if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is showing so much patience to us, this is how we should be reflecting one of His sifat of patience, is that He is patient, so that we should also be patient when others don't listen. You try your best and then you leave it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You try to resolve a relationship. Maybe you want to reconcile each other, two relationships, but they're not accepting your forgiveness, or the other person's not listening. You try what is in your control, and the rest you leave it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because you are judged upon what we do. Like it's been mentioned, is that when you're conscious, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is seeing how you react. See, in dreams, we may be killing someone in a dream, hitting someone, but you're unconscious, is not done. You may be thinking of doing things, but nothing's happened unless you physically do something. Then you become accountable for it. So it goes back to how much effort you have made, then you leave it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And again, if you look at the patience of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in all of his life, he still called the people. He never gave up. He never gave up in any person. He never gave up. He still called people, even though maybe they know they won't listen, but he never gave up conveying the message. And this is again an example that we should not give up on patience. And whatever effort we make, we should try our best. And then afterwards, you leave it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So again, this is again an example how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deals with the creation. Imagine Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, every day He is giving us food, drink, air to breathe. And many people, you can say, they are not worshipping Him, they're not remembering Him. This is the Muslims. What's to say about the non-Muslims? Still Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is feeding. Still Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sustaining. So the patience, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to show us that we should also have patience on these people, like He has given patience to the world. And He's given a limited time. But rather it is the other way around, is that question is that I will never give up. Because this is the example of Allah Azza wa Jal, this example of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So inshallah you should carry on, and this is a great sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is to carry on.
The next question: how should we square our potential? Sorry, how should we square our spiritual self-development in the backdrop of the catastrophe in Palestine? Before I hand it over to Chef, we have covered this topic quite a lot over the last few months. So I would maybe, if the admin team find those sessions and repost them on the group, that'll be quite useful, because this is an ongoing topic, an ongoing issue. Many people will be thinking the same thing. Sure.
So really all the disasters or all the incident of the world is an example. It goes back to you, is that what is your reaction in this world? So like the examples that you can see, you mentioned about Palestine and other countries, be it, Russia and Ukraine, or, it's all about occupying another land. Yeah, occupying another land. Again, the reaction is question on you, is that who is occupying your land? And this is, what does that mean? Is that like is mentioned, that you also have a body, you also have a world. And this is, the body is the world. Who is occupying this body? Is it you? Have you have full control of your body? Or is it shaitan that is occupying it? So if it is shaitan, there itself is the, like every week we teach and hear about self-development and the spiritual building of the closeness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, reoccupying your land, meaning that this body has been given to you to command. So you yourself are in control of your body. You should be. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you this body that you should be in control over. When you came into this world, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you this body. He gave you a mind, a heart, a spirit. These are like the governments. These are like the army. Now what's happened is that shaitan maybe has overtaken it. Now your body has been in use of harming someone. So like the body has 7 organs of the body: the tongue, the hands, the feet, the stomach, the private area. This world also has 7 continents. So you have a world itself. Is that who is occupying your tongue? Your tongue, is it shaitan occupying it, or is it you? If it's shaitan, then you should retake over this land. And this is how? It is by purifying, by doing good deeds again and again and again, until it's as though you're fighting shaitan and occupying the land again of your body. So the reaction is that, the question is that what is happening in my world, my body, my heart, my spirit? Because if every one of us recaptured our bodies and mind and heart from shaitan, then imagine everyone will be occupying their own bodies, minds, and heart and be in control of it, and the whole world will be in a peaceful state. It will not be harming anyone, with the hands defrauding anyone. The tongue will not be harming or backbiting. The eyes will not be looking at people with jealousy or etc. The feet, the not going towards bad places or taking people towards bad places. Or the mind not thinking and planning of evil. So really, the whole aspect of this world is that shaitan has occupied you. Now it's a time for you to fight back and occupy your own body, right, and take it back from shaitan and recapture this. And you are the kings of this land. Now shaitan has become king, and you are crowning him every day, or and listening to your feelings, listening to your thoughts, listening to other people and harming others. But you have been given a responsibility of the Khalifa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a representative. And you are supposed to be taking over this land than anyone else. So really the conflict, this is an example. Remember, everything in this world is an example that how we should be reacting, how we should be making an example. Okay, this is happening in the world, there's fighting, what is happening in my world? And then if you fix yourself one by one, if each person, then the household, then the community, then the countries, then the world will slowly fall in place. But it happens with you, because you're going to be accountable first. So inshallah, these series of about the incident and how we should react, there's a whole series on this, inshallah, and maybe Imam Muhammad and Ustads can refresh this as well, inshallah.
There's a couple of other questions came, but it's around the same sort of topic, so we'll log those, and inshallah. Somebody asked, how do I extend patience when it comes to my in-laws? So this is, again, it's like in-laws is like any other relationship. It can be a bit sticky, so we do offer one-to-one consultations. So things need to be done with wisdom, obviously. So hence why we offer these services, is because we recognize, not everything is straightforward sometimes. And having This free mentorship that we have, this path of purification is free. You know, ustads, they come here at their own time. They got full-time jobs. They're earning. They don't need your money to help you, right? You don't charge for the work of Allah, the work of the Prophet ﷺ. So anybody who has any sort of sensitive issues, yes, I'll reach out for private consultation, no problem. Inshallah, we'll start the dhikr.
If there's any consultation afterwards, they can have one-to-one.
Yeah, so any one-to-one consultations, please reach out to me or Sister Anisa, if you're on the sister side. Ustad Ibrahim is here for private consultation. Inshallah, we'll start the dhikr. For the couple of new faces here, this is a loud dhikr. The objective is to connect our, we've used our ears to listen to reminders. Anything that's goodness that has come from it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and any lessons that have been transmitted through our mashayikh, any mistakes or any blemishes in the delivery is from myself. Now we are now going to use our tongues and our hearts to now connect with Allah. We've used our ears, now we're using our hearts and our tongues to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is to bring presence that He is with us, watching us, hearing us, to our whole being and to this gathering. And through this exercise, sorry, my son dropped, to build presence with Allah. That's the purpose of dhikr, to build presence with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We've gone over the evidences and so on and so forth. This is Imam Muhammad has mentioned this many times. This is a sunnah. It's in the practice of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. If you want evidences there, that's a separate session. We can go into that. But for the purpose of time, we'll go into it. Lights are turned off. The way it works is that you follow the lead. It's not completely turned off, but dim just for concentration. And to also build this presence, we have something called the 3 keys that the Mashayikh teach us, is to remind ourselves that Allah is with me, watching me, hearing me throughout the process. Secondly, is to use the faculty of our imagination. We can't see Allah, we don't know what Allah looks like, but we know what His name looks like. So this is a representation for us to connect to using imagination. We can imagine light, or we can imagine Medina, Makkah, anything that has a connection and a reflection of Allah or a connotation with Allah. We reflect that, and the purpose of it is that we're trying to build the presence of Allah, build the presence of the Prophet ﷺ. So we'll dim the lights and inshallah we'll begin. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الرحمن الرحيم. مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يئوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم محمد سيد الكونين والثقلين والفريقين من عرب ومن عجم مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم هو الحبيب الذي ترجى شفاعته
hardship, like it's mentioned in Palestine, in Ukraine, and many other countries. Wallah, wherever there is war, Allah, that we know of or not know of, Wallah, bring them peace in these lands, Wallah. It could be in countries, it could be in lands, it could be in homes, it could be in ourselves, Wallah, wherever people are suffering, Wallah. Give them the solution and bring them peace. Because that is the ultimate aim, is to be peace with ourselves, peace with the people, peace with the dunya, and peace with you, Allah. The greatest, you are peace, you are salam, Allah. Bring salam, bring peace in our body, mind, heart, and spirit, Allah. Many people are suffering in the graves, Allah. The Muslims, Allah, forgive them and make their graves the garden of paradise. Allah, those people who are suffering, who are ill, Allah, in hospitals or suffering from illnesses, Allah, Allah, give them shifa, Allah, and Allah, bring them back to recovery, Allah, so they can worship you. Many people have cancers and disease. Maybe we have and we're not even aware of, Allah. Allah, forgive us and that this disease become cured, Allah, so we can have the strength to worship you even more, Allah. Allah, there are many non-Muslims in this world, Allah. Lead them towards your remembrance, lead them towards Iman, Allah. Allah, enable us to die with Iman, then resurrect us with the pious and righteous, and the righteous being the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and all our parents and grandparents, and unite us with the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in the hereafter. Allah, enable us to be with the pious and righteous, Allah, and lead us, Allah, in this life on Sirat al-Mustaqim, Sirat of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, back towards you, Allah, because there is no other path except you. All other paths leads towards others, other destructions, and other ways, but your path, the path of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and you are the only means towards salvation, Allah. Enable us to be on this path, and we die with Iman and be resurrected in the righteous world. Allah, many people who have du'as, Allah, are going through things that maybe they have not uttered, Allah. Enable, you know what's in their hearts, Allah. They have asked, Allah, with Allah, with this blessed period and time, Allah, enable them to be accepted, Allah. You're the most merciful, Allah, the most kind. Whatever the Prophet has asked goodness for in his life, will enable us to also have this in our life. Whatever they have asked to have refuge and protection, Allah, enable us to also have this protection in our life from shaitan, from the devils, and from ourselves, Allah. Allah, you're the most merciful, the most kind. We rely on you, because, Allah, there's no one else we can rely upon except for you. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما صليت على ابراهيم وعلى ال انك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما باركت على ابراهيم حميد. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين الحمد لله رب العالمين.
Can we just get back to that? Just a couple of announcements. So again, anybody who wants a private consultation, please come to the front table. Adnan, okay, can you just prepare that private room over there with 3 or 4 chairs? Just have the people go in there. Secondly, apologies for the late start. 8:13 traffic, hope no one got hurt. Thirdly, we have a retreat in early December, I think it's the 6th, 7th, 8th of December. And Sheikh Muhammad and Sheikh Ammar Shinqiti, they will be running a weekend course on Imam al-Nawawi, Al-Arba'in al-Nawawi. So Imam al-Nawawi's famous collection of 40 hadith. It is mentioned this is one of the most accepted and thoroughly studied collections. It encompasses almost, pretty much every major aspect of our faith. So everyone's encouraged to attend. We've sold out and we fully booked on the previous one, so to avoid disappointment, book sooner than later. There's a special discount for previous attendees, and the Sacred Compass attendees as well. So you can reach out to me. Also, will be shared later. Is there anything else to mention? Look out for a weekend special, inshallah. We'll do a weekend special in the during the Christmas holiday, so it's a bit time away, so we know. And there's a sisters retreat as well. Give me one moment. We'll share details, but there is a sisters only retreat. So the sisters only retreat for 16 plus, 3-day at Coat Gyle Osmothely, Northallerton. I don't know where that is, but that's the sisters only retreat. Being organised by Prophetic Path, which is our mother organisation. So some details will be shared later on today, inshallah. So that's on 29th, Friday 29th to Sunday 1st, 29th November to Sunday 1st of December. Inshallah, so I believe there's going to be lots of activities, campus art, nature walks, meditation, campfire, archery. There'll be different workshops as well. So it's called Sister Spiritual Retreat, 29th November to 1st of December, inshallah.